name is Shiva. I am a policy associate at GLIDE in our Center for Social Justice and Development in San Francisco, and a former SF State student.
Perfect. So why is GLIDE organizing this rally in support for Proposition 6?
GLIDE has been working on this Proposition 6 when it was still an assembly bill. It was formerly called Assembly Charter Amendment 8, and it was going to end slavery within Californian prisons and jails here in our state. We have been working on this proposition because it aligns with some of our work within the criminal justice to reform some of the policies that exist here in California.
Okay, perfect. And one final question is, what do incarcerated people, what do they expect to change if Proposition 6 were to pass?
Yeah, so yes on 6, once we pass this ballot measure in November, it means that incarcerated people right now get to have a choice to choose between, if they want to take an education class, if they want to take join a drug treatment course, or participate in mental health services or victim impact services. It gives them the choice to choose what kind of program they'd like to participate in, instead of being forced to work and labor in things that they are not interested in.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And you can give final comments, give a shout out of what you're doing next.
Shout out to San Francisco State University students. Y'all are amazing. One of our strongest leaders here in San Francisco, across the state and the nation, have been led from that university. It sends out a lot of wonderful community-centered organizers and people who are working to change the systems that be here in our state, but also across the nation.
Fifth, together we will get the word out to vote yes on Prop 6. Vote yes on Prop 6. Vote yes on Prop 6. That's right. Yes, yes. In 2022, voters in Alabama, Tennessee, Oregon, and Vermont voted to remove slavery and involuntary servitude from their state's constitutions. What? California is one of the most progressive states in the nation. And why are we behind? California should be leading the nation on this, period. Let's join the movement to vote yes on Prop 6. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Carmen Nicole Cox. Yes, she's the Director of Government Affairs for ACLU California Action. She is a liberation attorney. Carmen fights for breaking cycles of poverty and incarceration because of her personal and family experiences. How many of y'all got personal and family experiences out there? Right? She's about responsible and compassionate reforms, motivated by the love of the people. That's what GLIDE is all about: unconditional love, radical inclusivity. That means even prisoners matter. Even prisoners matter, inside and outside the system. Everything she does is about looking at the evidence and relying on the people with lived experience. She's worked for United Way, for the people, Governor Jerry Brown, San Joaquin County, and the McGee-George School of Law. She's worked nonstop for liberation. Like we all are on the front lines of liberation.
Thank you all so much. I'm just going to share really briefly an overview of Proposition 6. I see that we have some folks who are probably not planning to be here, and so we welcome you, and we are very excited to share with you that the California legislature, through an overwhelming support by Republicans and Democrats, put Proposition 6 on your November ballot. Proposition 6 is very simple. It changes just 6 words in the California Constitution that have been there since 1850. What Proposition 6 says is everyone, regardless of their circumstances of confinement, is human. Proposition 6 says we absolutely have got to amend our California Constitution to remove any opportunity for any government entity to force labor out of anyone. Proposition 6 says we absolutely have to prioritize rehabilitation. We're spending $134,000 a year for everyone who's inside our California state prisons. We want a return on that investment. Proposition 6 offers us an opportunity for a return on that investment. It does so by prioritizing rehabilitation. These are programs that already exist inside of our state prisons. These are programs that evidence has shown help to reduce recidivism. Reducing recidivism is important for everybody. Those of us who are here, those of us who are watching at home, because reducing recidivism makes our community safer. And it allows us to stop wasteful taxpayer spending. So one more time, Proposition 6 amends just 6 words in your California Constitution so that every person in California is treated like a human. Proposition 6 will prioritize rehabilitation so that folks come home and they can successfully and permanently reintegrate with their family. And Proposition 6 means not only are we safer, but we get to take some of that money that we're currently wasting on this bloated prison and carceral system, and we can spend it in our communities. So that's Proposition 6. Yes on Proposition 6 because it makes our community safer. Yes on Proposition 6 because it saves taxpayers dollars.
Contemporary urban containment zones involve a complex conjunction of high crime and civic neglect common to low-income urban areas around the world. Borders of urban containment zones are enforced by a combination of over-policing at the periphery and disregard within for the purpose of profit. The multi-phase containment of African Americans, this country's first moneymakers, has evolved from slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration to police terror and the proliferation of SRO housing that permeates our inner cities.
In the 1850s, the anti-slavery abolitionist forces in the U.S. developed what was called a free soil strategy of containment to stop the expansion of slavery. The government surrounded the South with free states, free territories, and free waters, building a circle of freedom around slavery, hemming it in until the slave states were forced, one by one, to abandon slavery.
We hereby reclaim the Tenderloin and all dehumanized zones, zones of poverty, zones of wish to be forgotten, zones of those who wish to go home. We hereby reclaim the Tenderloin and all zones of the disowned, discarded, and deserted. We hereby reclaim the Tenderloin as a free soil zone of expansion, of radical belonging, radical resilience,
And fierce compassion. Belong to each other.
All right, are we going to pass Prop 6? Yeah! Are we going to end slavery in California? Yeah! Are we going to invest in rehabilitation, not forced labor? Yeah! Well, here we are on October 2nd, what must be the hottest October 2nd in the history of our country, the year of our Lord, 2024, and we still have slavery in the California Constitution. Shame. Shame. And even back then, over 150 years ago, they knew that they needed to call it by something else in order to make it more acceptable. So don't be fooled when you go to the ballot and you see involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude is slavery. It is slavery. It is the exact same thing. Forcing someone to work against their will is slavery. And it is in our Constitution. It is explicitly allowed, and we need to remove it. We are right now one of just 16 states that still allows for slavery under the law protected by the Constitution. Our Constitution should be protecting and uplifting our most fundamental rights. It shouldn't be undermining and attacking them. If there's anything that shouldn't be in our Constitution, it should be slavery. And this, as you've heard from the folks who are standing behind me who know firsthand how important and why this is so critical, either they've experienced and seen it firsthand as people who are formerly incarcerated themselves or have loved ones who've experienced this, or support and reintegrate people who have come out from behind bars. What we know is if we actually give people an opportunity to rehabilitate themselves, to take classes, to go to education, to get a degree, to get drug treatment, to get mental health care, that they're going to come out, and they're going to come out better than they were before, and they're going to contribute to our communities. And they're going to contribute to the safety of our communities. And right now, if you don't let them go to class to get help, if they say, I want to get a degree, I want to get some treatment, and you say, no, we're going to force you into the kitchen, and you're going to have to work. We're going to force you to go make money for a corporation, and you're not going to get pennies on the dollar. That's what's happening right now. And that's not making anyone safer. It's restricting and prohibiting people from having the opportunity to better themselves in order to make them better off and us safer as a community. And that is dangerous, and it's wasteful, and in 2024, it is downright shameful. So we have work to do, and we are going to make sure that we pass Prop 6 this November. Are we going to get this passed this November? And slavery in California? We're going to make sure every California has freedom protected in the Constitution. Let's get it done. Thank you all.
Today, when California decides to hold somebody accountable with a prison sentence, it is in everybody's best interest that upon their release, the individuals have the tools that they need to turn their lives around, to come back to their families healthy and as whole as possible. That's what Proposition 6 is about. So when we hear commentary about 50-50, which side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history that says every human is human? Or do you want to be on the side of history that suggests something different? Prop 6 says every human is human, and we all want to be safe.
With 20 years in this reentry, prison reentry, jail reentry space, I kind of feel at liberty to speak on this a little bit. So I have experience on both sides of the ball, from the cage to that graduation stage. And I will tell you that when that judge sentences somebody to prison, that banishment from everything they know and love is the sentence. All of this forced labor and this other stuff, that wasn't a part of that. But it has become, and we've written it into the Constitution, it appears. So it's up to us to do better. We got to do better. And like we said, California is supposed to be leading the charge. Let's get on it. Yes on 6 is my stand. Please ride with me on this.
Prop 6 is a common sense piece of legislation that we need to pass immediately. Manufacturers, corporate giants have long exploited the prison population and worked to undermine working families throughout California. That needs to end in November. The exploitation of these workers really brings down every working family in California. It undermines our standards. It undermines our families' ability to care for each other. No one should be forced to produce furniture and different manufacturing cheap goods while corporate giants and CEOs make millions and the prison population makes cents. It is infinitely not fair, and this does equate to slavery. It is slavery, forcing people to do these jobs without a fair wage, without benefits. Think about the common sense. When someone is sent to jail, they're ripped from their families and their communities with no way of caring for their families. This gives that family a fighting chance. Gives them a chance to learn a trade. Gives them a sense to earn real wages. Gives them a chance to provide for their families. That's common sense. We can't give people any other choice but a life of crime. And that's what this Prop 6 does. So yes on 6! Yes on 6!
Why are we still talking about slavery in California in 2024? And if you ain't talking about it, you need to be talking about it. It's time to finally strike out involuntary servitude from the California Constitution and put rehabilitation first. Strike one. California's forced prison labor scheme is rooted in white supremacy and the exploitation of indigenous and black free labor. How do I know this? In 1849, an all-white male legislature deviously crafted slavery into the state constitution, 16 years before the 13th Amendment. The governor at the time, Peter Burnett, a slaveholder decried, and I quote, "the colored race is inferior to the white." 2 years later, in 1851, this same legislature awarded State Senator James Estill, also a slaveholder, with a 10-year prison contract, which became San Quentin, not too far from here, and helped him develop a convict leasing system with the unrestricted use of convict labor. Fact. Strike two. Forced prison labor undermines rehabilitation. The evidence is overwhelmingly clear. When people participate in rehabilitation, education, job training, drug treatment, mental health treatment, they are more likely to succeed in the free community. How do I know this? I speak with lived experience. Having served 25 years in prison, I paroled right here to San Francisco, graduated from San Francisco State University with the help of Jason Bell and Project Rebound. I interned right here in City Hall and Supervisor Wallen's office. Next month will be 6 years since I've been home. And I can speak that the rehabilitation and education I got on the inside definitely contributed to my success. Fact. And strike number three, forced prison labor is way too expensive for California taxpayers. How do I know this? It costs about $133,000 just to incarcerate one person for 1 year. So when we fail to prioritize rehabilitation, it increases the likelihood that people return to prison. We are literally throwing billions of dollars at an already bloated prison system that fails far more often than it succeeds. Fact. That's 3 strikes, you're out. It's time to strike out California's involuntary servitude clause in the California Constitution, put rehabilitation first, enhance public safety, reduce recidivism, save taxpayer dollars, and finally, put an end to the 175-year-old racist scheme from California's past. Thank you.
Honored to be here with all the folks who are fighting for yes on 6. A lot of people, when it comes to an election, they vote for the stuff at the top of the ticket. They see the presidential election, they see the mayor's race, and then by the time they get down to this sea of ballot measures, a lot of people tune out. And so what's so important about this rally and all the outreach work that we are doing is to make sure that people go down that ballot and vote yes on 6. Now this campaign to abolish forced labor and slavery in our prison system in California is going to do 2 things, and they're both important. The first thing is it's going to open the eyes of the California people who do not know someone inside the system to the fact that in 2024, every day, there are thousands of people in this state being forced to work. And not just being forced to work, but being penalized and punished when it comes time for parole decisions and other decisions about their future. They're going to be punished if they stand up to be forced to work. So we are, through this campaign, opening the eyes of the California people, of every voter, to the state of what is happening inside the prisons in California every day. And then the second thing we're going to do is what everyone's talked about. We're going to end it. We're going to vote yes on 6 so that after November, nobody in this state is forced to work, forced to perform certain labor, and nobody is subjected to modern-day slavery anywhere in California with no exceptions inside the prison system. So I'm just going to end with this. I'm going to echo the sadness I feel that we have to be here in 2024 closing this horrific loophole. And I want to thank all the folks who are elevating that this didn't just happen by coincidence, right? But that there is a long and sordid history of people making money through this. And we are going to end it by voting yes on 6. And we know fundamentally that our yes on 6 vote, and when it passes, and when we end slavery fully in California, we know with certainty this will make our communities safer for all the reasons the other speakers have identified. Thank you all so much.
As the Executive Director of Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, we advocate for the civil and human rights of currently incarcerated individuals. Proposition 6 addresses the constitutional rights of currently incarcerated individuals by amending Article 1, Section 6 of the California Constitution that allows the practice of forced prison labor. We stand here today because San Francisco was the first city to allow the constitutional practice of forced prison labor. The Wavin was a ship purchased by the San Francisco Sheriff and eventually acquired for use as the first official state prison. Infamously known as San Quentin, built in 1852. The incarcerated men and women aboard the Wavin, under state contract, built the first brick and mortar prison here in California. And in the RFP of San Quentin, the primary request was to use the people's labor to any way they choose, and to run the prison as a for-profit business. 172 years later, the practice remains the same. We should be focusing on the problems that led people to prison and preventing them from returning to prison. Forced labor creates barriers to programs and reduces recidivism, and for that reason, people are not being able to rehabilitate. Proposition 6 saves the taxpayers dollars because it costs $132,000 annually to incarcerate one person every year inside of California prisons. There are currently 91,000 people inside of the California prisons. If you add that up, that sums up to $12 billion and $12 million. That is what California spends every year to incarcerate people inside of the state prisons. Proposition 6 is good for taxpayers because it focuses on rehabilitation, which reduces recidivism, which creates safer communities, and reduces the price that people pay on incarcerating people in the state prisons. Forced labor, no matter how it's defined, even if you are confined, is unconstitutional. There are 34 states that have removed this language and stopped this practice. California is behind, and we are one of 16 states left, and I'm urging you to vote yes on Prop 6.
Gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around. Got my back. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
Yes on 6! Yes on 6! Yes on 6! Yes on 6!
Hey, good morning, guys. We are here with the San Francisco Living Wage Coalition. We are fighting for unionization here at this Starbucks Coffee. I believe it's on 16th and Rhode Island. We're here passing out flyers, talking about skeleton crews and kind of the inhumane conditions that a lot of these workers are kind of under right now, and the fact that Starbucks is not willing to negotiate with these unions better wage and better standards of working conditions. We're just kind of passing out flyers, making sure that their petition is signed in order for Starbucks to start negotiating with these unions. So, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Support Starbucks Unionize for your better coffee. Petition. Yeah, QR code right here. Is it on the ballot? Yeah. Yeah. QR code. Hey, morning. Support Starbucks Unionize. All right. Help Starbucks. Support Starbucks Unionize for better coffee.
Behind Union, so
Yeah, use the petition, use the QR code.
I will do that. I'll definitely do that because we need protection. Yeah, I will definitely do that. Take care, guys.
Sign the petition on the QR code.
I'll check it out. Okay.
Give your results. They give you like a bar chart, 5-star, and all that. I think it is.
That's how it's like some Starbucks process thing. I used to work for 5 years for Starbucks back in the days. So I was about to come out here and I was about to be like, you know, please give me a chance to just remind you. Yeah, but because I used to work as a manager in San Diego. But okay, I'll send it up. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay.
How about Workers United? It's a union Starbucks.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing, man? Good. You want to start with Workers Unionize?
Yeah, feel free to send it. All right, right down there, man.
All right, man.
Have a good one.
It's been a rough year so far.